Hello, this is the latest episode of the EMG Podcast, the EMG Podcast. I'm joined today by Real Betis, USM Algiers, and Gor Mahia manager Jamal Juma, or Triple J. Hopefully, we should be getting Babajide and Neri on in a bit, but GJ should be on in a little bit. Neri hopefully should be on soon, but I can't get hold of him. So obviously, there's been a couple of updates since the last episode. Mainly, we are a few games into the new Division 1 season, and also as well, the EMG Connect Cups have been completed. Obviously, which is why JJ is on today, as he successfully won the EMG Challenge Cup. JJ, is there anything you can think? Is there anything that you? What did you think of the Connect Cup this time round? The last couple of weeks.
It was first of all, I didn't expect to win it because, like, when we entered the tournament, we were about fifth favorites. There were strong teams in it. Al Saad, I can remember one was higher rated than us. There were a couple of main world teams, and we even had a lucky path towards winning. We basically did beat two teams on penalties. That were Benfica and Spurs. And we beat the other two were Simba and Hearts of Oak. And both are really low rated, but they gave us a game. So basically it was just the lack of the cup. Like this time it favored me more than usually. And the final was even the final was a hard game, and we ended up winning it. And the Connect Cup is kind of like a tournament where you can't predict it, and that's why it's so entertaining. It's rarely that you see an African or a 90-rated side going all the way to a semi-final, which usually happens. That's why I think it's a good thing, and it will only benefit the game world. Because like some of the matchups which happened this time is something which was unique, like Galatasaray facing Liverpool, and there were other games. Yeah. So probably the only bad thing about it is there is no way of there's no way of making sure teams managed by the same person don't meet, like what happened to Jonesy and Jibril. That's probably the only bad thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the downfalls of the Connect Cup tournaments is we can't have a way where we can sort of seed draws to avoid teams playing each other. Ideally, we would sort of have it seeded where we'd have seeded teams and unseeded teams to avoid matchups like Atletico Madrid from EMG.
Yeah. But one of the things they were saying they will include on the last whatever vote, SM vote, they are saying about custom game world rules. Maybe let's hope it will come with something on Connect of not even making seeded or seeded, but just trying to do a group stage and a knockout Connect thing, like the World Cup. Hello?
Yeah. You know, like, and then the game world, whoever collects the Connect Cup up, then can, the teams in, say, a group stage. So winners of each league plus the Connect Cup winners would go into pot 1. Main World would go pot 2. Africa and MENA would go in pot 3, and LOE and Americas would go in pot 4. And it would avoid, say, 2 EMG Main World teams playing each other or 2 EMG at MENA teams playing each other in the first round. And you would also then have games against teams from different game worlds instead of having to play a team that you play twice a year or a team that you can play in a friendly in Main World. Or the other alternative would be we have 16 seed ones and 16 seed twos, or seeded and unseeded, and then you would have sort of the best teams playing the weakest teams in the tournament. So Atletico Madrid would automatically play the weakest EMG Africa teams, or Valencia, or Division 3, Division 4 Legends of Europe teams, and it would get and then you'd have teams who are fairly equally ranked would also play each other first round, a bit like sort of like a 1 to 16, 2 to 15, 3 to 14 type bracket. I know it's quite commonly used in NCAA basketball and March Madness, that type of thing. So number 1 Atletico would play number 16. Oh, I don't know, the worst EMG Africa team. Al Shabab would play Valencia, and it would then avoid matchups like Liverpool v Arsenal, Liverpool v PSG from previous editions, Atletico Madrid v Man City in this edition. Al Shabab playing like a top Main World team. 2 teams that should theoretically meet later in the tournament, especially in the Champions Cup, or and then obviously Challenge Cup. You would obviously put the Division 4 teams as the lowest seeds, and then work it up to the point where you get a Main World or a Legends of Europe team that didn't do very well in the league and stuck into a Challenge Cup. A bit like Fisher's Liverpool would be down a number 1 seed, and then would play somebody in Division 4. It is one of the downfalls of the Connect Cups, and it's not a massive priority with SM's update plan, but hopefully later down the line it does get looked at, because it does need looking at. It is very glitchy, and it is also, you're getting draws that you shouldn't have 93, 94 rated teams playing each other in the first round. Well, there should be a way to stop that.
Yeah, a couple of, I think it was 1 year ago, CAM did a really interesting Connect League. It was that game world is now, everyone left, but it was like a Europa League thing and a Champions League, where
X series.
The Connect Cup was more of a group stage, and 8 teams were going into one group, and top 4 now go to the knockout. Knockout stage. I can't remember how the knockout went, but I remember reaching the final. So yeah, but the thing is, the problem with it will be longer. That's the problem.
Yeah,
it took almost weeks.
And also, as well, we did something similar in the original Saharis Cup when we played MPL. EMG played MPL Fruit Game World, where we did it as a league format as 20 teams, and it just takes too long. Like the tournament, ideally we have the playoffs, the Challenge Cup playoff done whilst the actual Main World playoffs are done. Then you go straight into the main tournaments, and they take about 8 days. If we did it, say, as a league format, you unfortunately have to set it as you play each other twice. That takes 2 weeks. Then you've got to set up the knockout stages, and if you do that, you've got to make sure someone knows what they're doing, because not everybody knows how to set it up. To then say to somebody, okay, you're going to set the Champions Cup playoff, the knockout stages up, and you're going to set Challenge Cup's going to be set up on the knockout stages. It's a lot to organise. It's also a lot to expect from people as well. Obviously, unfortunately, the easiest way for us to do it is just 1 game knockouts. And we are going to look at doing it this as a staggered tournament next time in February. So one day you'd have Challenge Cup, one day you'd have Champions Cup, one day you'd have Challenge Cup, one day you'd have Champions Cup, just to sort of have a game every day, so we don't have like, a day where there's nothing going on, especially in the off season. Obviously, the World Cup will be on as well at the same time, but obviously previously it is, especially in an activity-based game mode, it is hard to talk about your teams when there's no games on. So obviously, we've already confirmed that it's going to be a staggered type of tournament, which would be interesting. Also, as well, this is another thing. If, as we said, if we can get the groups and knockouts set up on there with like 4 teams or something, or even 8 groups of 5, expand it to 8, get rid of the playoff and have it up with 2 40-team leagues. It might add something different potentially.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about the Connect before we move to the next subject is the timing of it. This time people were really caught out by the 4 p.m. kickoff. So probably the previous one should be around game time. So people could automatically get used to it.
Yeah, so obviously, because usually the Connect Cups, the Champions and Challenge Cup is done when the league season's finished. It is usually at 7 o'clock or later GMT, because there's actually still, because we've sort of pushed it to the end of this mainer season, which is why the gap was a bit longer this time, because Main World was 4 games into the season. We sort of set it as 4 o'clock kickoffs, so it didn't clash with the league games. Obviously, it sort of it screwed some managers up. Mainly, I know Jonesy got a bit screwed because he was expecting it to be at like either 7 or 10. It was at 4, and he didn't set his team. So, yeah, I think it's either got to be made aware that it will be an earlier kickoff, or it's at 7 o'clock like it used to be, so everyone knows they've got to set their team beforehand like they would normally, or even 10 o'clock. That it might be, it's not ideal for certain managers, but especially for yourself and the Indian guys. But it might then mean that you can set your team up, have your league game going, and then you can stay up late and see your score, or you can wake up in the morning and see how you went overnight.
Yeah, the perfect time might be the 7 that you're saying, 1 hour like before the normal games, and it's still a bit early. So 7 might be nice. 4 was just like too early. Personally, I didn't have a problem because the 4 o'clock was 7 p.m. in my place. So at around 5, once you get off work, I used to remember and then set the team. But if it was like 4 p.m. in my place, I would have been shut out.
Yeah, it's nice for you and Jabril to get the kickoff at a reasonable time. But I think for a lot of European guys, it's a bit of a nightmare. Either they have to set their team up the day before, or have to not realise and get their result right when they're finishing work. So yeah, obviously the Champions Cup was won by Al Ahly. Bojan's Al Ahly beat James Young's Hapoel Beersheva. This was Al Ahly's second appearance in the final. Bojan's third appearance, actually back-to-back in the Champions Cup final, and third time lucky for him, second time lucky for Al Ahly, as they knocked the perennial second place main aside, the BMN, as James calls them. And then obviously the Challenge Cup, JJ's Algiers beat Al Sadd, who were going to be the first team to win both Connect Cups possible. However, they fell short, losing to JJ's Algiers. As for performance of the Gameworlds, Maynard dominated. They had 4 teams, all 4 finalists from EMG Maynard, and they had a further one team, which was Al Shabab, that lost in the Champions Cup. Very disappointing campaign from EMG Mainworld. Only Wolves made the Champions Cup, and there weren't many of them in the quarterfinals. Sevilla was also in the Challenge Cup. They got knocked out, unfortunately, and overall pretty poor campaign from EMG Maynard. EMG Maynard.
Hello?
Yeah, so we just had some technical issues there with a phone call dropped. So obviously mentioned overall performance of each game world in the Connect Cups. Turn the camera off. On to the next topic, which was the start of the main world season. So we are currently 6 games in. Yeah, 6 games into the EMG main world season. Any surprises?
Yeah, Napoli being top of Div 1. I didn't expect that because they do have ratings, but not enough to be top of Div 1. They are more of a lower mid-table team in Div 1, and I don't think they will last there for long because of the reviews. Bami will usually get his droppers. And the other thing was Atletico struggling. They are 8 points off the top at the moment, and what history has told us is once a defending champion starts badly, never mind making top, they should now be worried of relegation. Because you have seen this before. Like the wins just dry up. But I think Atletico is too strong to be relegated.
Yeah, obviously as well, I've just noticed as well there's 3 teams tied on 13 points. Potentially after coming back from his holiday mode, Fizz may be looking at a potential title challenge as he sits second, just behind Bami on goal difference. Jabril is also there. Surprisingly, Wolves have 7 goals scored, 3 conceded all season, so they are very tight defensively. But goals scored might be an issue. As for teams that haven't had good starts, Man City have been poor. Well, worse than poor. They've been pathetic. They did actually win on Thursday, but they have scored 1 goal all season in a 1-0 win against Rennes and have conceded 12 and have lost 5. Obviously, new manager in charge there, not a good start from them, and potentially looks like something long term might be the year that Manchester City do drop down to Division 2. Another one as mentioned there is Rennes. Had a few injuries. Obviously, Altamaz has kept them stable like he had under Bojan. Bojan had them. However, it appears that this year they've had a poor start. They have got quite a few injuries apparently, and I know as well as Thomas has mentioned, and I've had it before. When you do hit a bad run of form in Soccer Manager, you get basically brutally hit. Famously done by me a couple of years ago when I got 2 points in half a season. When you're lucky, you get the wins. When you're unlucky, you just get brutally battered, results-wise. I think Rennes and Atletico will be fine. Flamengo and Tottenham sitting 9th and 10th, just come up. It might be that they get dragged in because of the two teams below them picking up points. Obviously, Barcelona sit as well, just ahead of them. They'll be fine. As for Division 2, I'm top, unbeaten. I think I am the only unbeaten team in. Yes, I am the only unbeaten team in the EMG main world with 4 wins and 2 draws. Anything surprising you in Division 2, JJ?
You could say Benfica, but it's no longer a surprise. Like in a normal season under a different manager, Benfica not being top would have been a surprise, but it is Saskid, so no surprises there. I knew the relegated sides will struggle. Probably the only thing which has surprised me so far is our own form. We didn't expect to be in the playoffs. Like no one predicted us to be in the playoffs. And our only loss was a shocking one at home to Bilbao, where they scored all the 3 shots on target. So yeah, my only surprise is probably Real being top and Benfica.
Yeah, Everton as well, sort of obviously just come up, but they have got ratings. Sitting 5th. You would have thought maybe they could have been probably top, but a bit of a slow start. Adaptation period to Division 2. You expect Bojan to get them into contention. It's just they need to obviously stop dropping points before being in this position Real Madrid were last year, where they were 3rd comfortably, but stuck in the playoffs, and obviously the playoffs is a total lottery. So Everton and Benfica need to start winning, not drawing and losing games that they should win. As you said, the 3 relegated teams in Division 1, probably the poorest relegated teams we've had. They currently sit 10th, 13th, and 14th. Villarreal have 1 point all season. Inter Milan have 1 goal all season and 1 win. Gladbach sit on 5 points in 10th, but it's the bottom 5 in Division 2 seem to be getting cut adrift a little bit already from the top 9. There's 3 points between Lyon and Gladbach already. It looks like it's clear that who the worst 5 teams in the game are in that division are, and it is Mönchengladbach, Bayern, Villa, Inter, and Villarreal. As for Division 3, Rashini and Vinny, Man United and Chelsea are sitting 1st, and in the playoffs is pretty tight. Any surprises in Division 3?
Harry being bottom. I know I give him grief, but with the team he has and how last season they were in the playoff positions, and them being 1 point is surprising but enjoyable. It is enjoyable, but it is a surprise. And I expected Palace to be running away with it since they have Messi, but they had a mixed start too. I don't know which position are they in.
They're in 6th, so they're 3 points off the top. They've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 2. They have, got 7 points out of their last 9 available in the last 3 games. it might just be early teething issues with Palace, though. It's Division 3 is quite tight, especially at the top. Obviously, Leverkusen sitting 12th. I didn't actually realise they won on Thursday because we were calling Neri a 1-point wonder.
Yeah.
The team he's got, but no, they beat Lille, which Lille are rubbish. The bottom two teams are winless, and they have also both come down from Division 2. Leicester's Portuguese dream team and the Lille, I don't want to say shit show, but shit show, sitting in the bottom two. And obviously then Leipzig, scope is not. So
Yeah, Leipzig. Yeah, I was wondering which other team with ratings I have forgotten. Leipzig are too strong to be in Div 3. Never mind, like they were even stronger than most Div 2 teams. So it is a shock that they even got relegated and are still struggling.
All I will say is there will be a managerial change likely next week at Leipzig, just because admins can't hold on to Scopa with that poor team, that team being so poor and not being active. And then obviously, I can only see this, but in regards to Division 4, we are coming towards the end of the season in Division 4. 6 games left, and there is actually 5 teams within 5 points of each other at the top. Jonesy Zenit are 3 points ahead of. Oh, they're tied level actually with Salzburg on 44. Celtic are on 41. Gothenburg are on 40, and Swansea creeping in on 39. Obviously, Jabril's hit a bit of a bad patch of form recently, which has seen him tail off. Though Gothenburg still sit fourth. And there's a couple of teams there, young boys, Zagreb, Copenhagen, who are creeping in towards the top. They're in the SMFA Shield positions, at least, but they are sort of creeping in to the title challenge if the top teams start dropping points. And Shakhtar Donetsk are bottom and have 1 point in the last 6 games. Division 4 is pretty much the same. It'll be interesting to see who wins the Division 4 title. Would it be an admin? Would it be a non-admin? Who knows? So the look at the topics. So the next topic is okay. Yeah. So obviously there have been some updates with regards to SM in the last couple of weeks. We had another monthly update, the November one. There is currently a poll ongoing now about the next change. JJ, how have you felt how do you feel? How have you thought of the updates they've implemented so far?
They have been slow on it, and I have felt like the votes that they are doing, it's being rigged to favor a certain outcome. And I say that because now you see like the more tactical options is winning, but everyone knows like that they have already taken the SM beta version, released it to some people. So they have already done the tactics. There's no voting going on there. So it just will win, and then they will release that. And the tactics, they feel they are detrimental because the guy who is using them in VMA is losing to other people. So which means that if you tinkle too much with it, you will end up losing all the games. And it will be interesting to see how it goes, because now usually it is kind of limited. You can just copy someone else's tactic because everything is there. But once they introduce that players thing, if someone managed to get it right, it's very hard for others to cope with it. So it will be who will adapt to it.
Yeah.
The bids have been okay, like external bidding more than normal will probably save Africa, because
Yeah.
now a lot of teams will get out of the debt.
Yeah. Obviously, the last couple of days, we haven't seen it yet in EMG Africa or any of the EMG Gameworlds, but obviously they have started to slowly implement external and unmanaged bids and counter bids. Obviously, I'm going to check now, but admins have sort of told Fizz to list Cole Palmer as an experiment to see how much money he gets offered. Obviously, because Omdurman are in debt and they are also shit as well. But they are in debt, and it'd be interesting to see how much money he can get for him. And it could be a case EMG Africa clubs that have more than 21 players. If you have 21 players, you're still shit. You're still fucked. But as for EMG Africa players and Africa teams that are in debt that say have 22 players, it might save your club if you can list a player and you get a lot for them, especially younger players or higher ratings that are fairly young or under 30. Obviously, then it depends how the manager spends the money after they get it. Knowing some people are just going to go and buy everyone that is available and put themselves bankrupt. But as you said, that could be saving EMG Africa from just being a manage your team type of game mode and bring it back to being a game mode where we can do deals. Also, could benefit some of the mainer teams that aren't particularly getting well financially backed. Some of the poorer teams in Mainer are struggling financially, are falling behind. Obviously, the big boys could help there. And obviously, as well, it's going to be interesting to see how it is now in EMG Americas, where when we set this up, how people are going to spend the money wisely, especially now with these new counters. Obviously, as well, currently we have got the poll up, as you said, which is tactics and custom game worlds, also gold game worlds. But at this point, what's the point of having gold games when everyone's a gold? They're no different to main normal game worlds. Yeah, so obviously it looks like tactics are going to get selected, and it's a bit weird why they. Well, it's not, but anyone who knows people in other game worlds, I know VMA, Scott Robinson, as you said, has been given the trial for tactics, and he hasn't won a game apparently. So it's going to be interesting to see how much tinkering people are going to do. You've got to have a bit of a balance and not tinker too much, because you could over tacticalize yourself and be like Pep in a Champions League final where he screws it up tactically wise and just screw your team up and screw performances up by trying to be a tactical genius. Personally, I know me and Jabrilla said this. I think they'll implement the two highest ones, which are currently custom game worlds and tactic options. We saw last time the two highest were the better AI and more complex deals. They've just implemented the AI, and the complex deals come in next month or in the next update. So, it might be a case tactics gets implemented in January, and then we finally get squad caps and all that options in February. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah. So obviously, we have got some manager questions. Just gonna look at the Google Forms document on my phone, see if anyone else has sent any updated ones, and see what people have asked. So, first question: what manager in main world deserves the chance to manage one of the big teams? so i.e. the big clubs in mainland?
Vinny is actually good tactically. He will be very, very hard to beat in one of the top teams. Who else? I would like to see Harry back at the top team too, because it's just free entertainment. And who else? Probably Spicer at the top team, so that he can't hide behind the building.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for me, I've always felt Vinny would. Personally, I always hoped Vinny would take that Man City job, just because I wanted to see him turn a really badly built, run big team around. Ajmal, done pretty well at Sevilla. Isn't afraid to sign oldies, but will also then go and buy youngsters and just have a well balanced team. Done really well with Sevilla. I think he'd be a good option at a big team. And Neri, I mean, it's been quite quiet on the bottling side because he's hiding away in Division 3 and we can't watch him bottle league titles, or we have to take the piss out of him in Maine and Raja where they're bottling. So, and they didn't even do that last year. So, yeah, it'd be nice for. Will he ever go back to a big team? I don't know. I mean, he's obviously second season at Leverkusen. I think, but who knows? Yeah. Second question: do you think the expanding EMG Gameworlds will make it more difficult to police and run? Yes and no. Obviously, we're going to have about 158 clubs in Elite Managers Gameworld in January. So, obviously, MENA and Africa, MENA is literally just squad cap. Africa is just squad cap, and half our teams have only 21 players. So we don't really have issues there. Yeah, but bear in mind, we've just hired 2 new admins. 8 people should be enough to manage 4 game worlds and 2 game worlds that are very active. So should be fine. There's going to be teething issues, as is with all new game worlds, but it'll be fine. With a lot of D4 managers not up to scratch with regards to content, targets, how do you think the recruiting will go in the future? JJ, have you got anything?
Basically,
you've been impressed by any Division 4 managers recently?
The recent ones were probably Spicer and who else? Like the current group we have, I don't think even like most of them are below 10 comments. So yeah, I can't even remember anyone left there right now. But regarding the recruitment, it will be harder, obviously. But at the same time, for example, in VMA, it's not only the admin who recruit. Like there are more around 8 people recruiting. So that is probably the only role we will have to take, because basically right now it's only you who's doing the recruiting, and after a while you will exhaust like the people so it will be more of now recruiting through word of mouth. Like me, I know someone from this game world, and the good thing with someone like that, there is no risk as of someone who if I know someone is active and is in a certain game world, it's easier for him to understand than someone who's completely never been in a custom, who doesn't even know the seriousness of squad cup. Like they think it's something you can break tonight and then tomorrow you are back in cup and no one will make it a big deal. Yeah, so that's the way it will be now, through just getting other active managers that But everyone going gold made it harder, because basically people who have stopped playing the game because of that.
Yeah. Obviously, regarding the current Division 4 group, there are some guys who probably potentially in main world when and if spots come available. Glinker or Glinks, who's Andy Glinker, who's the Cardiff manager, he posts a lot, about SM, posts a lot about going to Trafford FC games, obviously his local non-league team, which he's involved with.
Yeah. I
That's
know
really interesting. Obviously, we've got Mr. IMJ, who's come back. His main target, because he's obviously as one of the things we implemented when managers left because they didn't get gold, if they did return, if they made 25 comments in their first month, they immediately went back to main world. He's on 35, I think, so he's going to be up if a club is available. We got Pane there as well. We got 9S. Two managers have been in EMG for ages, know what they're doing. Not really division managers, but they're going to get up eventually. It's just a lot of it is about getting to Division 4 and then getting into a place where you're going to be in main world and a club gets available, because currently at the moment there isn't, other than Leipzig, there isn't really going to be many opportunities available. There's still 7 days left. Could be a few managers who just don't make the 25. But yeah, I do feel for some of the guys who are putting the effort in, but sometimes you just got to wait for the opportunity. There are a few other guys. I've got to give a shout out as well to Gertin and Juan Carlos, or CR, especially Juan, because he doesn't speak English, but he still tries to. And bear in mind, he's reading everything that's in the chat, putting it in Google Translate, and bear in mind, some of the stuff that's in the chat is absolute bollocks. So he's reading everything Fizz puts, all the stupid stuff we all put in there, and thinking, what? But he still posts. He posts about his team. He promoted his own game world in the group the other week, which is like a North American type game world. He might be a manager that, like Rio Adi used to be the Indonesian guy, who's always just going to be in Division 4, just never going to be active enough for main world. But at least he's trying. Gertin as well. He's posting and been a bit busy recently, but he looks like someone eventually get into main world. There are a few guys obviously at the bottom, towards the bottom end, who are not really going to be here much longer, I don't think, or going to lose their jobs in the next couple of months if they don't pull a finger out. Obviously, because we've had a few of them join, they have got waivers, so they might not be here much longer in 2025 potentially. But yeah, there's a few guys in Division 4 that look like potential long-term main world managers, and there's some guys in main world as well who look like they're running the risk of getting demoted. There's always guys that are always hovering every month, but especially at the moment, I think there might be a few guys who are going to be sent to Division 4 soon. Fourth question: with the new admin recruits, what will they bring to the game world, and will main world remain stable going forward? What do you think on that, JJ?
The main one will be stable because it basically just came through the biggest threat to it, and that was once everyone was forced to go gold. So once it survived that, it's now I don't think there's anything else which will be quite as dramatic. Regarding the new admins, having Bami in admin will probably give a chance to the managers who go old with their team when they want an upgrade. They won't be as shunned as before, because Bami will probably check at results first before the build in any future upgrade. So that's talk to them. And Babajide will probably be like Arjun. So you'll only be seeing him when it's time to vote. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Jide GJ's. He was admin in Nishant's old Dream Team game a few years back on WhatsApp, and also as well has been an admin in Top of the Clops and Legends for Europe. So obviously has some experience. It is a case of he probably be more active in Arjun, sort of a bit like Neri, sort of there, but always monitoring type, but not always saying stuff about admin, just keeping it to the admin chat. Bammy, to be fair, Bammy so far has been pretty good. I think one of the reasons why we brought him in was obviously with the recent few arguments recently, he has said to admins to kick people out and has shown real leadership, which we were quite surprised by. And he's seemingly doing a pretty good job. I mean, he's already better than Fizz, which is something. And he's looking. He's been given the job of monitoring EMG Africa, which is pretty easy. But yep, he's asked questions and he's said, "Is there anything we can do regarding certain things?" And asked us stuff and kept monitoring everything. And obviously, he hasn't. Neither of them have gone and forwarded things to the newsfeed, but there hasn't also been a lot of transfers recently or any updates. So they've obviously not had any chance to do a lot of admin stuff. But I've only been in the job a week, so it's a case of they're going to just get used to it over time. Final question, which was you've asked, is who is the worst manager in the game world, and why is your answer Fizz? So why is Fizz the worst manager?
Just because of, just go and check Vinny Junior numbers for the last 6 seasons. He's basically been operating on 3 goals a season, and Vinny is someone who, if you just put him in a 4-2-3, 1B custom on the left wing, will probably get you 20 assists a season. So that's why I see Fizz as the worst manager tactically in this game world. And secondly, if you go through his team, being third this season is actually their position. Like that's where they're supposed to be, not just 1 point of relegation or like what happened last season. He went for the cup, didn't win the cup, and then when he came back to try and survive in the league, he clicked on holiday. So yeah, that sums up his last season, how it went.
Yeah, and also as well, obviously EMG Africa, he won on Thursday, but hadn't won for 2.5 months and got 9 points all season. He will say that he doesn't log in, which isn't wrong. But yeah, he's lack of interest in EMG Africa has meant that he's been pretty crap. And he still blames the previous manager who was there for 1 game. It's wasted all the money.
I think Fizz has not reached 30 points in Africa. Not 30 points in one season, 30 points combined. Since he came in, I will have to check it, but I remember him having 4 points and now 9 points. And yeah, and last season he had I don't know, but
season 1 and season 3. I will just check now when I said loads, but in season 2 he did make the playoffs. So I'm going to probably say he's never got more than 40 points in 3 seasons. Let's just check. How many points did he get in season 2? He got 31 points. So he has a combined point total in 3 seasons of
44.
44 points. And
how many games is it in Africa?
66
a season
games.
is 22.
22
wow.
In 65 games. So he's never managed the first game because that was Anzil before he got sacked from Division 4 and then decided to leave after fucking the team up.
So he's operating at less than 1 point a game.
Yeah, less than 1 point a game, and he's had 2 relegations. And in Maynard, since he came back, he went on holiday mode, and they actually won the league. So yeah, his assistant manager won them the league in Maynard last year, and yeah, and obviously he's Copenhagen manager of Division 4, but he's doing a pretty good job with them. To be fair, I mean he's just doing an admin job, so can't really judge him on that. Okay, yeah, I think that's all now. Pretty much an hour's worth of roasting Fizz and Neri. So this was the latest episode of the EMG podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us all, JJ, and we'll speak again soon.
Yes.